I would have bet you money that if Diandra had given the rose to Chasten the next week, he would have been like hitting on the next hot white girl to come down the beach. Like, I would bet money. I would bet money.
I would too. I'd throw a lot of money into that bet.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
And we're here to find love. This week, it's time for a Bachelor in Paradise 2021 recap. We're going to go through the main couples on the beach this week. It's Mari, Kenny, Demi, and their whole situation. Riley, Maurissa, and Connor. Abigail and Noah, and how their friendzoning conversation may have come back to bite them in the butt. And Diandra, Karl, and the nature of grand gestures that we're just seeing on Paradise this week. So let's jump right in.
For a quick recap, Mari and Kenny had hit it off. Basically, the first night of Paradise, they seemed to be into each other and really vibing. But then this week, when the girls had power, Mari decided to tell Kenny, like, hey, like, I want to date other people, or if someone asks me on a date, I want to be able to go. Is that chill if we do that?
Yeah.
And he was kind of not on board with it, but she was kind of like, well, I want to, see and explore other things. And he was like, okay, I guess we'll see and explore other things. And he took that literally and went and explored things with Demi. And that erupted an entire huge conundrum between the two of them being between Mari and Demi. We saw a whole lot of explosive conflict between those two, and I mean, it was great TV. Don't know if it was great communication, but
no.
Yeah.
I was like, Mari, like, I get what she said, because obviously Chasten came on the beach. He was very attractive. She thought that all of these new people are going to be coming through. So she definitely had the right to kind of clarify that she wanted to have like a non-exclusive dating situation or something more casual. But the way that she said it to Kenny, who was not on the same page, he did want to pull back, and he was like, well, I'm just going to like take what she's saying at face value. I thought it was so interesting after she saw him kissing Demi. She was like, I thought he was going to do a grand gesture to like do something to deepen our connection. And I was like, that was leagues away from what you told him explicitly. And he was taking her exactly at what she said. Every word, he was like, the grass isn't always greener. And then she was like, well, I gotta do this.
I mean, and it's such a great example of like, say what you mean. Don't like try to play these mind games with people and hope that they know what you're thinking. Like,
they're not.
I don't know why she would think that he would have some grand gesture for her. Like, he, like, you should take people at face value. If someone tells you that they don't want to be
100%.
exclusive, you shouldn't assume that they like want you to go and like, buy them a giant gold necklace. LOL. Sorry.
It was kind of amazing, and I can't wait to talk about that whole jewelry situation. She was iced out. I was like, what is going on, Diandra?
Oh my god, I can't.
It was so
but
good.
Yeah, but regarding with the Kenny and Mari situation, it's just kind of like, you should take people at face value. You shouldn't
100%.
expect, like, if someone tells you that they want to be non-exclusive, that's not a sign that you need to try harder. Like, you should like believe people, and what the things that you want in your relationship, say that and like be direct about it. Clearly Mari wasn't direct about it. Honestly, what I think actually happened is that she wanted to be non-exclusive, but then she was like upset that he got to hook up with someone before she did, because I'm sure if Chasten had asked her out on the date, she would have gone on the date. Fine. She would have she would make out with Chasten, and then she would be like, what, you're hurt about it? Like, I'm sure that would have been her stance. And like, so I think it was more a case of like, she was just upset that he got to do it before she did, and then she kind of realized like, oh, maybe I do like Kenny, and also Chasten didn't even ask me out, so I'm like sad now. And
even with the whole birthday situation, when Demi was like wooing Kenny and was like, I got you a cake. Here's a pinata filled with condoms. Like, there was so much that she was doing to just kind of demonstrate, like, hey, I really like you. Like, I can see that Demi was completely in the right to pursue Kenny. She could have done it with a lot more grace, but subtlety is not Demi's thing. Demi is like tunnel vision if she likes something, and I think that's her flair. That's indicative of her personality.
I don't think Mari had a lot of even maybe self-awareness about herself and what she actually wanted in the situation. Like, it seems like as soon as she saw Kenny making out with Demi, all of a sudden she was like, no, I actually do want to be with Kenny. And like, it seemed like that realization only came to her like too little too late almost. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I think it's okay to communicate with people when you are feeling like you want to be, you know, have more openness and less like, especially in the context of The Bachelor, you know, maybe a healthier way that Mari could have reacted in that situation was to say to Kenny, like, hey, like, you know, I'm glad that you were like taking me seriously when I said that we should see other people. The truth is, now that it's happening, I'm feeling a different way, and I'm feeling like I'm actually feeling uncomfortable with this in a way that I hadn't expected. And I think I might actually like you more than I thought I did. Like, do you want to revisit our conversation?
Wise words. If that had happened, the whole paradise would be different, Kelly.
Can you imagine? Like,
I agree. Because if she had just said that, I think Kenny would have been... Because how he's taking it is what she exactly said to him. If she was like, I like you, it would have stirred up all of these feelings that he's pushing to the side to pursue Demi. And totally. If she had said that, it would have completely changed the whole landscape of their dating. But now there's a third person in it, and it is Demi. And Demi is a big, big component. You cannot ignore Demi.
You can't ignore Demi.
You can't ignore Demi. She is right there. So that
to
me,
in her words, she was looking great. So, you know,
she does look. What are you she does do? Look fabulous, and I think that like. She was like, she was very like provocative, but I think that she was very honest about her affections towards Kenny, which if I was in that situation, I'm talking to someone that is telling me something, but they're hoping that I do something more to like demonstrate my commitment. That's kind of a lot. And then Demi is very straightforward in her candor. It's very refreshing. I can see why. Totally. And not only that, but she's sexy. She like is very confident in herself. It's very attractive to kind of like go to the other polarity of that.
Totally. I mean, you have, that's a really good point. You have these kind of polar opposite, like, flirting styles or like relating styles, right? Mari is like playing these mind games or something like that, versus Demi is like, I like you, like straight up I like you, want to date you, let's date each other exclusively. Like, she's very straightforward and she's confident. She's not like trying to like do this thing and like try to make Kenny do some kind of big gesture. She's like, no, I like you, like let's go to the boom boom room, like let's like hang out, let's spend time together. And that's kind of nice. It's like nice to have someone who's just down to hang out, down to be with you, down to explore. And so I don't really blame Kenny for jumping ship with Mari. Anyways, let us know what you all think about Demi and Mari and Kenny's whole situation. Were you kind of in the Mari camp? Did you think that Mari was okay being upset at the two of them? Did you think that maybe Mari, you know, took the wrong move, made the wrong step with Kenny when she told him she wanted to be non-exclusive? Tell us what you all think down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
I know that you had thoughts about how Maurissa talked about ending things of Connor, which I think is a really big teachable moment of how do you let someone down gently? Like, how do you tell someone that you're not interested? Because like last week, backtracking a little bit, I was not here for the slut-shaming that Maurissa got after she slept with Riley. No one cared on the beach. Riley did not treat her differently because that's what someone does when they respect the person that they're in an intimate partnership with. She had a really healthy approach to sexuality. She wanted to do it, and it was just that uncomplicated. And I think if anyone has a problem with her or they confuse what she did as like a weakness or an insecurity, that says a lot more about them than it does about Maurissa. There's no rule about, like, because I know that there's still, like, something going around where it's like you can't have sex on the first date or the second date because it means something about you. You're easy. That's so outdated. It's so disrespectful that, like, we can't just be super positive and lean into our natural urges, our natural instincts about being shamed for it. So I really hated seeing the backlash on her behalf, because I thought they had a beautiful date. They have an amazing connection. Riley is a man. He is so good in everything, like, chef's kiss, you know? Thank you, God. Thank you created someone like Riley. He's just awesome. He was like, I loved when he was like, I want to eat that cake. I get it, Riley. Like, cakes
I
are...
got it.
I got it.
I'm here with you. Like, I get it. Like, that's a man I can relate to. Like,
I would be thinking the same thoughts. If I was on that, I don't even like sweets, but I would be like, I kind of wanted to see what was in that. Was that fudge? Was it ganache? Like, yeah, what was the whole situation? So I loved their whole date thing. I hated everyone. I hated the reaction from it because Riley...
The internet,
Riley had to,
the
like...
wrong take.
They had the wrong take. He had to defend her, which was just disappointing and just so disappointing. But, like, how did you feel about it? And then tell me what you thought about the whole Maurissa letting down Connor thing, because I feel like you have a really good take on that.
Having sex was seen as bad, like, writ large, and, like, you know, today things are different. You can, like, we know that people can have healthy, rich sexual lives, and it doesn't say anything about them other than the fact that they're comfortable with themselves and their body, right? And so have sex on the first date if that is your jam, if that's what you want. And if it's not what you want, then don't do it. You know, if somebody doesn't want to keep talking to you because you had sex with them, it's like,
says a lot.
That seems
I'd be like, okay, bye.
Like, okay, I got mine. Peace out, douchebag.
I know.
Like,
I would be like, that tells me everything I need to know about your character. How you think about women, how you view me and my purity or my character just because I did something that comes natural.
Right.
So I would be like, thank you that I just did that once. I gotta go.
It's like, good. I got the D I needed. Bye. That's how I feel about all of that. Regarding the thing that I didn't love is the way that Maurissa let Connor down, or the way Maurissa kind of communicated or didn't communicate to Connor that she didn't want to see him anymore, right? Like, she basically skirted around it. Like, he was kind of like, hey, like, do you want to, like, hang out later today? And, like, she was like, we'll see. Like, and it was very clear that she just didn't want to see him anymore, that she wanted to just date Riley. Right. But she just kind of never talked to him about that. And I'm not really sure why she couldn't have just said, like, hey, like, I've really enjoyed getting to know you, but, you know, I was really connecting with Riley and I liked him a lot and I really want to focus on that relationship. Like, just saying that directly, you know, obviously, like, nobody likes hurting another person, but by avoiding the topic completely, I feel like it was almost more hurtful than if she had just directly said to him, like, hey, like, you're great, but I'm just feeling called to pursue another relationship right now. Like, saying that directly is, like, much kinder and gentler on somebody than just, like, kind of brushing them off, which is basically what she did to Connor. She just brushed him off and just eventually stopped talking to him. And, you know, that's not cool. Like, she somehow ghosted him while they were, like, literally on the beach. like,
yeah, I know. Like, I thought about that.
He's right there. You can't just ghost him. He's a human being. You have to still, you know, you know, you cared about him at one. I mean, you can't only care about someone when you want something from them, right? You can't only care about someone's feelings when you are trying to get something out of them, their affection, their love, a relationship. If that is how you approach care, then your care is conditional. It's self-centered, and it's, you know, it's actually not really care as much as it is, I don't even want, is it manipulation? Like, I don't even know. Like, it's like you want to, being a caring person and caring about someone means that you're able to care about them even when they're not giving you something, right? Like, she decided that she no longer wanted anything from Connor, and it was kind of like, oh, now that I don't want anything from Connor, I don't have to care about his feelings. And, like, that's not cool, man. Like, you always gotta care about people's feelings. Like, it always matters. And, you know, there's just a way to approach this so that we have so much less suffering and heartbreak throughout the dating process. Like, dating is hard because people, like, don't want to have these conversations and don't want to look out for each other. You don't have to want to date someone to be able to look out for them. So, yeah.
That's beautifully put. And I think what you said, that script or that type of prompt, that would have been so tender, and I think that would have, like, severed their connection with a lot of, like, care. Yeah. And it's so hard because, like, we know how painful rejection is. It's really hard to be the person that is spearheading that in someone else, but I do think that, like, that is the mark of, like, just really making sure that you really are, like, being a very thoughtful person, and, like, how you can persist or continue to leave a good impression on their lives by just tending to the ending with as much affection as you did in the beginning. Like, you don't have to withdraw it. You don't have to pull away from it just because it's transmuted or changed in ways. Like, Maurissa did care about him, and she could have just, I think what you said was, like, so well put. She could have just really clearly said that. It would have hurt him, but it wouldn't have hurt him as bad. And I think this segues to, like, a really good point that we were going to talk about this episode, which was how transactional, like, how that could feel transactional, right? Because Maurissa is kind of like, you know, I had something with Connor, so now I feel like I have to. It's like this energy exchange almost. And I feel like that transactional quality was kind of playing out in a lot of different dynamics on the beach. Diandra, Chasten, and Karl exemplified this.
Quick recap for the folks who didn't watch the episode. I mean, you know, basically Diandra and Karl have been kind of talking for a week or so since he had arrived, and, like, you know, I feel like it was pretty clear that she never, like, really liked him. Then Chasten kind of appeared on the beach, and Chasten asked Diandra out on a date. They seemed to have, like, an okay time. It didn't really seem like anything to write home about or anything like that. A lot of this, like, grand gesture type thing happening. And Julie, I know you had some thoughts about the nature of these kinds of grand gestures, so I'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are on this type of gift-giving situation.
I think that, like, that I just didn't like the conditional quality of the gift giving. It felt like if I'm giving you this necklace, which Chasten did do that to one up Karl. Oh, you gave a Pandora's bracelet? Well, I have this necklace in my bag, or a necklace the producers are going to give me. Let me show you how much better I am by you viewing this clear contrast between, like, the quality of this gift. I really didn't like that. I felt like in dating, especially now, when, and I'm going to talk about it in a gendered way, like, when girls go on a date with a guy, like, if a guy pays for a date, there's almost this, like, subtle implicit expectation that they then deserve a kiss, or they then deserve all of these extra things that are tied to it. And I felt like we were seeing that play out on Bachelor in Paradise. Like, she was getting a bracelet. Karl was basically saying, I really hope I get the rose from you. Chasten gave the bigger necklace. I really hope I get this rose from you. And I just think Diandra did some queen shit. She was like, I'm not going to choose either of this because I see what you're trying to get me to do. Like, you're trying to maneuver me because you think that these things garner my movements. It garners my thoughts. It garners what I feel, my heart's intent. And she decided to, like, pick Ivan, which I think was the best choice that she should have made and could have made. None of them really were, like, emotionally bonding with her, or, like, they were just doing, like, a dick measuring contest between each other. And Diandra was another prize they were trying to get. If I was her, I would feel objectified. I would feel like they're not really trying to get to know me, and their interest in me is only amplified because there's competition. And I just would not like to be in between that dynamic. So I feel like it was really...
Well said.
I really, really loved her just not choosing either of them. Because, like, regardless of what happens to her on the beach, that shows, like, high self-worth. That shows that, like, I don't owe you anything. Just because you gave me this thing, you're not entitled to my choice. You're not entitled to, like, anything that I do from that point on. Like, this is my decision. So that's how I feel about it.
Absolutely. I completely agree. You know, it felt like this is, and I kind of felt this about Karl in general. Like, Karl did a lot
Karl
of,
scares
like,
me.
really, he's scary. He's got,
He's
like,
scary.
those, like, gross, like, pickup artist vibes. Like,
Yes.
just, like,
yes.
very, like, kind of, like, using these, like, gross, like, moves that are clearly intended to, like, elicit a certain response without actually trying to get to know Diandra, right? There's, like, everything about the way he, like, this is not to say that gift giving in general is bad. I mean, obviously some people love gifts, and, like, a thoughtful,
it can be wonderful,
meaningful gift that is, like, personal, you know, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Just, there are many ways to give gifts that are meaningful, but, like, you know, both of them were just, like, giving a gift to a random girl.
Person. Yeah.
Just for the hopes of getting a rose, right? And it had nothing to do with Diandra. Like, you said this best. Like, it had nothing to do with Diandra. It was very clear. Like, both of them were giving these gifts, and it did not have to do with the person they were giving it to. It had to do with what they wanted, which was to get a rose and get to the next week where more girls will come to the beach. Like, I would have bet you money that if Diandra had given the rose to Chasten the next week, he would have been, like, hitting on the next hot white girl to come down the beach. Like, I would bet money. I would bet money.
I would too.
Like,
I'd throw a lot of money into that bet. None of the gifts, I felt like, do they even know Diandra? Is that even something that she would have appreciated or cared for? It just felt like it could have been an outline of any person. They would have just thrown that gesture at them. Yeah.
Exactly. And, like, you know, that's the thing. It's like, you can't, like, when you make a gesture like that to give someone something, like, it should be about wanting to make them feel a certain way as opposed to wanting them to do something and to reciprocate something for you, you know? Like, and if you are giving people stuff, like, just with the expectation that you're going to be able to get something from them later, it's like...
Yeah. That's not how dating works, you know? That's not how deep, beautiful, intentional dating works. That feels like... Yeah, it feels a little bit desperate. And it wasn't... It just kind of made me feel like, I don't know, that gamified quality of the show really showed itself with that whole dynamic. And I'm so glad that she just completely X'd herself out of that. She was like, I just don't need to be a part of this. So I'm not.
Right, she just X'd out, like, Karl, X that out. Chasten, X that out. Like,
Ivan, good guy. I'm going to give him a chance.
Let's move on to the next couple that we want to talk about, which is Abigail and Noah. So, Abigail and Noah, I have so many thoughts on them. We've already talked about them on this channel quite a bit, but we've had some progress in their relationship this last 2 episodes, so I guess I'll just dive into that. We saw with Abigail and Noah, their relationship has been sort of petering out in some way. So we've seen them, they've been hanging out the entire time, this entire season of Bachelor in Paradise. It seems like they've been hanging out and having a good time. But in this latest episode, what we saw is that Abigail was expressing that it doesn't feel like their relationship is moving forward enough. There's not enough intimacy. There's not that kind of, like, excitement or this, like, forward-moving nature to it. And they had a conversation about that seemed to be basically a breakup conversation. Not clear what is in their future, but the thing that I really noticed about the nature of this conflict is that it seemed to be really hinged on this concept of, like, friend zoning. And we've talked about the concept of friend zoning on this channel.
Yeah.
And, you know, the idea of friend zoning, it's such a toxic topic because, you know, we see how it's now panning out here in this relationship, right? This idea that, like, you know, because a guy is, like, really nice to you and, like, you have a good time, that you should in theory want to be in a relationship with them. Like, if they like you and you don't like them back, then you should feel bad, or that's, like, something you should feel guilty about, right? And we see that, like, Abigail is, like, experiencing this feeling of, like, you know, I'm not actually getting what I want from this relationship, but, like, oh, but it feels so good. Like, shouldn't it work? Shouldn't we stay? Shouldn't we be in a relationship? Like, and it's like, girl, if it's, like, if you don't like him and it's, like, not giving you what you want, you don't have to date him. But, like, she's like, oh, but, like, I don't want, like, we're, like, friend zoning each other. Like, she's just, like, this fear of, like, not wanting to date this guy who likes her. And it's like, you don't need to date a guy just because he likes you, right? Like, when they went on that first date and she said she wanted to move things slow, like she said that that's kind of her shtick, and then he like moved in and kissed her like right away. Like it was kind of like, what did you expect? She was kind of like, oh, he kissed me, I guess like now we're in a relationship and like I'm gonna go through the motions of being in a relationship, even though I haven't yet assessed if I even like this guy, right?
And it takes her time.
Right, and she said that it takes her time. So, you know, I don't necessarily think that, like, I saw some people on the internet saying, like, oh, Abigail is, like, self-sabotaging. But it's like, I don't necessarily think that she's self-sabotaging. She knew exactly what she needs in relationships, which is she likes to move slow and, like, get to know someone well before she commits. And we didn't really get much from Noah either. Like, Noah didn't seem to be really going out of his way to, like, do anything to address her, like, concerns about the relationship. He was just kind of like, oh, you don't like me? Maybe we should, like, add things. And honestly, I think that breaking up would be the best thing for them. I just, if it's not there, it's not there, and you can't, you know, it's hard to force it. So what do you think?
I feel like obviously there's some conflicts that like every couple is gonna have. Like you can't resolve everything, but it feels as fundamental as like just establishing intimacy, like a baseline for that. And they're not really able to get to the same place. Like Noah and Abigail, I think they just banked so much on the fact that everyone liked them as a couple that their relationship was a foregone conclusion. Like there wasn't like a lot of work that had to be done on Noah's part because he wasn't sure about the ways that he could escalate physical boundaries with Abigail in a way that she would be comfortable with. I understand that, but instead of him being like, I want to work on this relationship, because relationships do take communication. It does take a little bit of hard work. He just kind of like rested easy in his laurels of like, well, you know, we like each other. Abigail's obviously not going to go on a date with anyone else. I'm not going to go on a date with anyone else. And I think that his body language really exemplified how much he was willing to like put himself into the muck of like rolling up his sleeves and doing something about it. He was laying down the entire time. He was like, oh, I just didn't expect this conversation. It's like, yeah, this conversation happened to you. Like... Yeah, but now you can make the conversation happen. You could reverse that and you could be like an active agent in changing that. And he was just kind of like, no, well, she said this, she said that. And I just felt like that was, I don't know, that it just made me feel like, okay, already they're two ships passing in the night, the way that they relate to each other intimately. They're not really able to like, you know, do anything with that, with like communication and just smoothing it over. So I don't know. I just feel like if they do get back together, it's just they're gonna still have problems.
Yeah, unless they can push through this block and be able to like really talk about like what they each need. You know, I'd love to see both of them like express, like just directly express like one, just like it felt like they were both like. Abigail was kind of holding back in the conversation, and she like didn't actually like say like, hey, I like want you to be more intimate, like that's the thing that I'm like kind of craving in this, like I want us to feel like we're moving forward. Like she didn't actually really say that. And you know, it's possible that she didn't want that. Like my theory is that she doesn't actually like him that much, but you know, she didn't really, it felt like she was just holding back a little bit versus Noah, like he just didn't want to lean in and be like, no, I really like you, let's work on it. Like they were both just kind of almost like not wanting to like lean in and try, and it's like, well, if neither of you want to lean in and try, then it's not gonna be like the relationship. Then
what happens?
Right?
They're literally at a loggerhead. They're like, how do you move forward if not one person, if not both, need to meet in the middle, and they're both just like at their very well defended sides. Posts, they're just like, right. Like come meet me, and it's just like, what?
Exactly. That's what it felt like. Both of them, like Abigail was like, hey, could you come over here? And he was like, no, I'm resting. And Noah's like, hey, Abigail, can you come over here? And she's like, nah, I'm behind my barrier. So neither of them are approaching each other, and like it's like, well, if neither of you are gonna approach each other, then the relationship's not gonna work, right? You need to be able to lean in. Okay, why don't you guys all tell us what you all think about Noah and Abigail? Leave some comments down below. What do you think of friendzoning? What do you think about the way their relationship is kind of fizzled out? Let's keep the conversation going.
All right, so that sums up the major drama that was happening between the main couples on Bachelor in Paradise this week. Next week, we're seeing a lot more stuff happening to the other couples. Brandon and how he didn't initiate kissing, how that played into his maybe lukewarm affection towards Natasha. Piper's now on the beach, so I wonder how he's gonna like really react with this person that has been basically like a third party in the relationship this entire time. Joe and Sabrina, I think it was so the producers are just genius, and they're evil, and they're just psychotic. They're just like the way that she just walked down on the beach, the way that she is obviously going to make it's just going to be a lot of stuff between like how Serena is viewing her connection of Joe. That's going to be really, really interesting now that an ex is there. Gosh. So another really big dynamic that's going to play out is Tammy, and how she basically just like kissed Aaron's mortal enemy. And I just don't know what she was expecting, but I just don't think Thomas likes her that much. So I think she's going to really see her choice play out.
Okay, well, that's it for today's episode. Thanks, y'all, for sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed our conversation, make sure to give it a thumbs up, like this video so we know that you enjoyed it. Leave some comments down below, too, if there are any couples that we didn't talk about that you have thoughts on. We would love to hear what was interesting to you. Yes, please. And make sure you subscribe to our channel. We're doing these videos every week after the 2 episodes air of Bachelor in Paradise, so we'll have a new video up next week on Wednesday, and we'll be continuing to recap and analyze everything that's happening in Paradise. Well, that's all for today, folks. Bye!
Bye!